Yo, hey, how's it going, everyone? Man, Monday night, it's not a newscast. Instead, we're bringing you a brand new companion series, which I'm super excited about. It's been quite some time since I've been on a companion series, so excited to get back. Excited to get Chad get his feet wet in the companion series. And yeah, I'm sure Nick's just excited to be talking about Star Wars some more.
Yeah, it definitely feels like Star Wars season is picking up into full speed. It's like a month behind. I usually expect December to be like that, but
Yeah.
we're basically into January.
Yeah,
It's delayed like winter is.
you were saying that about like our Instagram posts. They were like the last 3 or 4 or so have all been about Star Wars. So, but yeah, how you guys doing tonight?
Doing good. Doing good. How are you?
Not bad, Chad.
I am doing great. Doing great. Excited to be on my first companion series. I haven't done this yet, so
we are excited to have you.
Exactly. Yeah, so I guess if you're tuning into a companion series for the first time, these are our like I don't know a side series of Showboys where we just really dedicate a full episode breaking down, recapping, and analyzing each episode of a certain TV series as they air. This one is about the Book of Boba Fett, which will be debuting Wednesday, the 29th, so 2 days from now. What we do is after each episode, the Sunday following, we get on here, we recap it, we break it down, we analyze it, we speculate, talk about all the Easter eggs and whatnot, give our thoughts and opinions. And yeah, it's just a ton of fun to get to dissect these shows that we love with each other. And yeah, these first episodes, which we call episode 0, these are our pre-show podcast episodes where we, kind of start the hype train going for the show that we're covering. So tonight we're going to go through a few things here. We're going to catch up on where Boba Fett and Fennec Shand left us in The Mandalorian, just so we remember where this series might start off. We'll discuss, break down, and watch the trailer for the series. And then we might, talk about the legacy of Boba Fett, the importance of him coming back here to Jabba's palace. We'll make some predictions, some big speculation, I'm sure, on what will happen through the series and how the Book of Boba Fett will impact the Mando-verse as well as the larger Star Wars universe as a whole. So that's what's on the agenda tonight. So yeah, I guess let's just start off right there at the top. Where did Boba Fett and Fennec Shand leave us at the end of The Mandalorian? Nick, do you recall?
I do. So the finale of The Mandalorian season 2, which was really good, actually didn't have a lot of Boba. Actually, it was Boba kind of dropping them off. And like Fennec Shand was really the main person we got to see at the end of The Mandalorian. So we know Fennec Shand last was helping Mando save Grogu and do all that fun, that amazing sequence there on the Star Destroyer. So that's where we last saw her. Now, it is a little kind of dicey, and this is where Star Wars starts to get a little confusing, where things are out of order, because we also last on screen saw Fennec Shand in The Bad Batch playing a role in that timeline. So, well, not timeline, but that story arc. And that happens obviously before this series, before Mandalorian and all of that. Then Boba Fett, we last saw him really just helping out Mando in The Mandalorian, and really Mandalorian season 2 kind of served as the prelude to this series. And from what I've read, it's obviously we don't know yet because, is there going to be another season? Is this just a limited series? They don't really put a label on that yet, and those aren't really kind of categorized per se, but they kind of frame it as a Mandalorian season 2.5 is kind of where I'm settling on with it.
Yeah. So Chad, do you remember like the post-credit scene at the end of of the Mandalorian season 2, where we see Boba on the throne there with Fennec kind of sitting on the arm. Like Nick said, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't even put these two pieces together. Like last we saw in the Mandalorian, Fennec was on the ship, with Mando and the crew, and then we get that post credit scene of her by Boba's side there in the throne room. So yeah, any idea on how we went from there to there? Do you is the Book of Boba Fett taking place after, during, or before the Mandalorian? Like, what do you think is going to be happening here?
Yeah, it at least appears to me that it's picking up right after the Mandalorian season 2. I could be wrong in that, but that's how it feels, and it might just feel like that because of that end credit scene where it was like the teaser for the show.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to be honest, I don't know if you guys were in the know, but I had no idea the show was coming until that scene popped up, and I don't know if anybody did. And I had read that like some of even like the execs at Disney didn't even know that this show was coming until that end credit scene. So yeah, if from the looks of it, it appears like it's going to take place right after Mando season 2. But I don't know. I could be wrong.
I think it'd be a little messy if they were to try, because obviously it's after he got his armor back,
Right.
and that has a fit point in time in Mando season 2. So unless they're trying to say it's happening concurrently within, some gap events where we see them in season 2, it's got to definitely be right after. And I did catch that too about, not necessarily everyone at Disney was even on board as far as in the know on that. And obviously just to keep that a secret and a surprise. I think even like Kathleen Kennedy didn't know. And like a lot of those execs did not know verbatim. Yeah. Like obviously they know that Filoni and Favreau are working on stuff and, they're doing their job, but that's kind of one of those situations like secret project, can't even tell you.
Right.
And I mean, that was cool to me because that kind of shows like the amount of autonomy that those two have over the IP right now, or at least the Mando-verse, and kind of all the Filoni story arcs, which is really exciting.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm also excited when we get to the trailer. We'll talk about it a little bit more, but I also read that the trailer only shows like the first half footage from the first half of the first episode. So we have literally seen nothing of the show real quick, which was like kind of one of my complaints on the trailers of this is they didn't show off a whole heck of a lot. You know what I mean? Like they're all very, very short. So, but to a point, I'm starting to kind of become someone who doesn't necessarily want to watch 6 trailers leading up to a movie or a show. Yeah. I used to be like that, but now I feel that it's obviously not their intention for you to find out some of the stuff in trailers.
Right. And for sure, I've too gone from a trailer guy to like I'm just gonna enjoy the show when it like comes out. Like I'm cool with the teaser trailers and stuff, but I feel like lately, I don't know, they just kind of give too much away in trailers. Like they play too many important scenes and stuff. So I'm cool with the less is more approach here when it comes to trailers. So but you're right, they didn't really show too much in this trailer. I watched it a few times today just in preparation for tonight. But yeah, I'm interested to see how we get from Fennec's last time on screen, not counting post-credit scenes, to where she is here in the Book of Boba Fett. It'll be interesting. But yeah, I guess let's just go ahead and throw the trailer up and we can watch it. And Nick, at any time, since you're kind of the Star Wars expert here, if there's something important going on in the trailer, like let's pause it and kind of discuss. Because I watched this a few times, and since I'm still like a noob here in Star Wars, nothing like quite caught my eye as like, we need to talk about this particular location or this particular character that shows up, or what's going on. So if you see something in here while we're watching it, pause it and let's break it down.
Yeah, sure. And I guess I didn't see that, but it's good to know that, and it makes sense that this is all footage from potentially just the first episode and like the
Yeah.
first half of the first episode, which kind of makes sense because it very much does have that kind of opener feel to it. And I think that's just such a better approach. And also, I mean, Star Wars is so secretive because there's just everything's just new coming out. Whereas like Marvel, I feel like they're just kind of in the trap of, especially their phase 2 and 3 stuff. Like it was all in the trailers at times, minus a few big reveals. So, but I think they've gotten away from that too. And I think that's generally what Disney realizes, that, you know, you can't just bake it all into a trailer.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you always fall into the trap of, it was in the trailer, but not in the movie. What happened?
Yeah, right. Which happens quite a lot, surprisingly, actually.
Yeah.
See Suicide Squad. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Speaking of like, you know, things about Star Wars shows and whatnot kind of being up in the air and not really known. Didn't the Bad Batch like episode count grow like by 2 or 3 episodes? Like we thought there was only going to be, I don't know, 11 or 12, and there ended up being like 14 or 15, something. I don't know the exact numbers, but didn't something like that happen with the Bad Batch?
Yeah, because the week of, I scheduled out and plotted everything that was going on with that series. And I had, you know, I was like, oh, it's going to go till this week of this month and all that. And then I think I just probably never I never re-looked at it. And by the time we recorded what I thought was the penultimate episode. And it wasn't. And I was so confused. Like I went into this episode like, oh, this is the next one's the finale, and then like, psych, not the case. And I don't know if they just kind of realized that they could make the last episode 2 or 3 episodes instead of like one big episode. That's kind of what it felt like. So they kept them all kind of pretty short and on par after that, you know, premiere episode, which was like 90 minutes long. So that might have been something that shook out through production, and I just never like re-looked at it because usually that stuff never changes. So this one is a little different. Like live action, it should sit at its 7 episodes.
That is definitely different. It's hard to, you know, maybe in animation you can just kind of create more if you think more needs to be done, right? It's not like you're going to get to episode 6 of, you know, Boba Fett and be like, you know what, I think we should film 2 more episodes. That'll be ready by the time we get to episode 7.
Yeah, and animation also lends itself more to having just scenes and like content that is just on the cutting floor, if you will, versus live action. I think they kind of stay lean to their budgets, and you know, they film what they intend to film, especially now with how organized they are with these shows. Like so much of it is like pre, post, and all that. So I feel like, yeah, you could probably scrape together another like story arc or 2 out of an animation, like on the fly. So
is it also true that we didn't know if Bad Batch was going to be limited or a continual series?
Yeah, that was,
and then they kind of just like dropped on us there at the end that there's another season coming.
Yeah, that was right at the finale. They basically alluded to that, and that's kind of their MO right now. I think Marvel, they do a good job at saying what it is, but Star Wars, they have not been very forward with that. Maybe that's because they don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like
would think
Marvel,
that's probably
know more.
Right, and that's probably part of it. They want to see how some of these series are gonna do, but I mean, you obviously knew the Bad Batch was going to do good. So there's some things you don't need that for. And I think, you know, Boba Fett's probably another one of those where you don't necessarily need to wait to see how it's going to do. I'm sure, you know, more Boba Fett for me is perfect. So.
Yeah. And another thing that kind of is cool with how, because, you know, Marvel to me seems very structured. Like they know their phase roadmap like pretty early on, because
Yeah.
they basically announced phase 4 pre-pandemic, like here's the roadmap, and it got forced to be changed, and that was the only way we saw adjustment from Marvel. Whereas Star Wars, I feel like they purposely, especially these storylines by Filoni and Favreau, they leave them open-ended, because I could see them like halfway through a season of something be like, you know what, instead of doing like Mando season 3 right away, let's just drop in Book of Boba Fett here instead. And I just feel like they're purposely leaving it very open-ended, depending on the stories they want to tell.
Don't even get us started on our amazing Mandalorian pitch that we had during our Mandalorian companion series, where we get 2 seasons of a different Mandalorian. So like, you know, the first one we're following Din, and then seasons 3 and 4 we follow Boba Fett, and then seasons 5 and 6 we follow Bo-Katan, or like whatever.
Yeah.
Like
cool.
a 2-season anthology type series. But yeah, let's go ahead and throw this trailer on, see if anything catches our eye, and you know, talk about it.
Let's go. It's only a minute and like 48 seconds, so not too bad. Fanfare.
I am not a bounty hunter. I've heard otherwise.
The suit.
I know that you sit on the throne of your former employer.
Jabba ruled with fear. I intend to rule with respect.
You were all once captains under Jabba the Hutt.
I'm here to make a proposal that's mutually beneficial. Why speak of conflict when cooperation can make us all rich?
What prevents us all from killing you and taking what we want?
If you had spoken such insolence to Jabba, he'd have fed you to his menagerie.
Please. Speak freely.
Click.
There we go.
I love the color scheme. Most of that's his armor, but like how it's in the logo and stuff, it just looks nice. I was thinking, especially on that watch through, how, you know, Fennec is very much like obviously his right hand bounty hunter sidekick there, but she seems to carry obviously a lot of weight, because like even like the looks that she gives him, like I think she has a different opinion, or like thinks he's like, this is going to be tough to do, like we should just bully these guys into being subservient to us, but he has like obviously a different approach. So it is interesting to see like the different looks that she gives, and even that one line she gave, like, you know, we should just do it Jabba the Hutt way and just kill you.
So how close is this version of Boba to like his past appearances in the franchise? Like, what was he always this? I don't know the word. I don't know. Not rowdy. Like I feel like, wasn't he like rowdy at one point? Like, wouldn't he have been like, yeah, let's rule with fear instead of respect? Or has he always been that kind of guy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I see him as that kind of guy. The problem is for me at least, is anything that we saw in the original trilogy, like they build him up to be like this awesome badass bounty hunter, but he kind of goes out like a wimp in the end and doesn't do a whole heck of a lot in the series. And that always rubbed me the wrong way because I thought, even back when I was a kid, I always thought he was one of the coolest characters. But it might be like a Night King type of deal with me. Like if we got more of him, maybe I wouldn't like him as much as I do. I think it's just because he's not in the original trilogy that much. But yeah, I mean, he doesn't do a whole, if you think about it, he doesn't do a whole lot in the original trilogy. He gets hit by a blind Han Solo and flies into a Sarlacc pit. That's pretty much the basis of everything you see. You see like one space fight and that's it. So, I don't know, outside of the legend stuff, I've always pictured him as the rule by respect type of dude and not the rule by fear.
What say you, Nick?
Boba Fett is an interesting character when it comes to that question, because technically he's a clone of his father, Jango Fett, which we know a lot more about and have a lot more screen time. So, and that's the cool thing about Tamara Morrison, who obviously voices and plays Boba Fett and Jango Fett in the original episode 2. So while Boba Fett wasn't ever really fleshed out on screen until Mandalorian. And, maybe he was just kind of going through like a bounty hunter, just earning money during the Empire days and maybe didn't have a lot of depth of character. You could kind of write it off that way. And also we get a little bit more of him in like the Clone Wars and see him as an adolescent.
Yeah. He was pretty rowdy as a little kid.
Yeah, as an adolescent, and the way I see it is like as an adolescent in the Empire days of the original trilogy, he probably was that way. But this is, quite severely, much more time has gone on. He didn't have his armor. He essentially died in the Sarlacc pit, had to crawl his way out of that, lose his armor, wandered probably the desert or the galaxy for some time without his armor. So at this point, I'm sure he's come out the other side very much like his father, Jango Fett. Yeah. And at some point in your life, males, especially if you're a clone of your father, literally, you're kind of going to default to that mindset at some point. Be like, oh, that all makes sense now. And here comes more so Jango Fett. And that's kind of how I see it.
So Jango was a Mandalorian, correct? And that they used his DNA to create all these clones.
So he was a bounty hunter. The armor itself is Mandalorian, and they answer that question in Mandalorian season 2 because of the chain code thing. So we can assume Jango is in fact canon a Mandalorian, or
at least was there at some point long enough to get some armor.
Family. Either that armor is like a family thing and they are for sure like bloodline Mandalorians or not, because we see examples of it in multiple directions. And right now that's the big thing with Mandalorians is they have a very storied history, both canon and non-canon at this point, which is tricky to navigate, because that was the biggest thing about Mandalorian season 1 was like none of this really lines up with previously established canon and even non-canon.
Okay. I ask because last night while I was streaming some Mass Effect, BioCiv was hanging out. We were talking about this, and we were talking about how and why Boba turned out the way he did, being a clone. And I don't know, I was just kind of thinking like, I don't know, maybe it's because like he was raised by Jango, right? As like a son that, led him down the path that he went on instead of, being like every other clone or whatever.
Yeah.
That's
definitely a good assumption for sure, because he picked up a lot of traits from his father, even in what we see in the prequel or the original trilogy and what we've seen so far. So yeah, that's a fair assessment to make for sure.
I mean, Boba is very much both a product of nature and nurture for him, because unlike the rest of the clones, he is for sure non-manipulated, altered version of Jango Fett, on top of being raised by Jango Fett. So that also explains a lot why, in all regards, he should be the same exact character. And that's why there's no issue with having an older Tamira Morrison who played Jango Fett just simply play Boba Fett. It works out too perfectly.
Yeah.
Right. We got a comment here from Joseph Fulwell. What's up, bro? He says, weren't there 2 different factions mentioned in season 2? I think he's talking about Mandalorians. Yeah, there were at least 2, maybe more.
That's what the Mandalorian went on to kind of explain that away, or explain that too, and basically saying that there is this, I would say, kind of alt sect of Mandalorians that is this kind of more culty, remain hidden. This is the way, always wear your helmet kind of Mandalorians. And this is kind of, I think, something like I think newer is where they're going with it. Like it came of the Clone Wars. And this is kind of how they foresaw themselves kind of rebuilding the true Mandalorian way. Whereas Mandalorians like Bo-Katan, like they're more so citizens of Mandalore itself, and more traditional, natural Mandalorians, I would say.
Yeah, yes, evolution.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
necessity, evolution out of necessity. I would say would be the Din Djarin sect of Mandalorians.
Yeah, for sure.
They're yeah. Well, like just a real quick point there. So like where the Mandalorians are more so like family driven, and you see that in Rebels, where they kind of go into Sabine's family, and there's all the different families and stuff. Like that's more traditional Mandalore, and that's where like the armor is like chain coded and passed on and on and on. Whereas like Din Djarin's sect of Mandalorians, like they are forging new armor sets for orphans. So essentially, that's like a whole new branch of things happening. So it'd be really interesting if they ever kind of lead more onto the armor, because that person carries some sort of knowledge to essentially create Mandalorians, which is an interesting concept in itself.
Yeah, agreed. Would love to see that expanded upon for sure. Was there anything in the trailer though that kind of caught your eye that you think we need to discuss further, or pretty straightforward trailer?
Yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward, to be honest with you. Like I said, they're not, and you can almost tell that they're not showing anything outside of maybe half of one episode, because it's all taking place in the same vicinity and everything, which is fine. But yeah, that just doesn't lead too much conversation into what you're seeing so far.
Right on.
Yeah. If anything, it just shows that I think we're gonna see. Well, crap. No, never mind. The end of Mando season 2, like he's already sitting there. Mm-hmm. So I don't, unless they show like the arrival to Tatooine and then the taking of the palace, but it kind of seems like they're already established there. So I don't know if that's like one of those things that the end of that season kind of like jumps ahead just a little bit into the episode, and maybe that's how the first episode ends. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like too those clips in the trailer from him sitting on the throne and stuff, I think that literally was the post-credit scene. They just like sliced in there.
Yep.
But yeah, let's dig into, I mean, we kind of did a little bit to an extent, but just the legacy of Boba Fett and the importance of him returning here to Jabba's palace and taking the throne. So yeah, what's the show gonna do for the legacy of Boba Fett here?
Well, there is one thing that I do need to watch. It's only 21 minutes long, and it's on Disney Plus. It's called Under the Helmet: The Legacy of Boba Fett. So that would be a
just
great
throw
thing.
it on the screen. We'll just watch it right now.
We'll just watch
answer my question right
there. But I almost feel like I did see this like when it did first come out. But in regards, like, he does have a long legacy, just like Chad said. Like, there was this whole mystique about him back in the episode 5 when they first showed him, and he was so built up. He was first shown in the holiday special, And they've gone on to reuse that really at the time like bizarre weapon that was kind of more of a meme than anything.
Yeah.
So that they're slowly kind of like salvaging the legacy and like putting it into canon, which is so cool. And I mean the character himself, like there is a little bit of bridge the gap, like Chad was saying, like there's him kind of going out like a punk in episode 6, and he only had like so many minutes of screen time. He just kind of stood around most of the time as like Darth Vader's lackey. But I mean, a lot of it's just going to be a lot of callback to like Django, and Django was George's opportunity to flesh out Boba, right?
Right. Yeah.
Instead of going forward, he was able to retro, which is cool too. Like he was able to retroactively tell this story about a very big character through his father.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the cool thing also about this series is it's just more retroactive, build up of this character that obviously is gone. We saw him die in episode 6. But going back and just further fleshing him out, I think that's why I love these series. Just like with Marvel, just fleshing out these characters that people love. So I could just watch all of the Star Wars series they ever want to create. I'll be here for it. But what is sorry, go ahead.
So, I don't know this off the top of my head, but when does Mando take place in this scheme of Star Wars? It's obviously. So how long has Jabba been dead during this point at the start of the show here?
Yeah, this is something that like constantly tripped me up while we were doing the Mando companion series, because this is also I was educating Mike just in general about Star Wars. So like he would ask this question, I'd be like, I would get confused sometimes. So Jabba's been dead probably, I think it's like 20 years if I were just to like ballpark it kind of thing. Maybe 10, because no, I lean closer to 10. There's definitely a hard date on it. Oh, it's 9. I think it's 9 years. Now that I'm really I'm thinking through it. It's 10 years. It's 9 or 10 years, because I did see somewhere it's like 9 ABY, which is after the Battle of Yavin, which episode 6, Jabba dies then. So we've got a solid like decade of just kind of dissonance and disorder in the criminal underworld.
Right. So that kind of leans me to think that the entire Book of Boba Fett is going to be about him taking this throne, because I can't imagine it's a vacant thing, right? He's not going to be able to just walk right in and sit down and be like, okay.
If it's been 10 years, somebody 10 years, has to have been there. Yeah.
So, well, okay. So in the Bad Batch, right? Which, well, never mind. The Bad Batch is before there. But Bad Batch went on the show kind of more of Jabba's like assistant. What is his name? Famously, I just can't draw his name right now.
Bib Fortuna.
Fortuna, whichever. I for some reason in my mind, I don't know if I saw this somewhere or I'm just drawing it from somewhere else. I think he is just kind of like the caretaker and like just kind of settled into the role. It's just kind of like the very next best thing, just because he was in a place to assume that power. So I imagine at that stage, like, he's not the most imposing person either. And I'm sure someone just walked in, Boba, and was just like, listen, dude, like, you're out.
Right.
Man, why do I feel like he was shown as like really fat, huge Bib Fortuna. What am I thinking of? Like, I feel like they've done this somewhere where they've kind of alluded to the state of Jabba's palace in this time.
Well, yeah. I mean, it seems that they at least have some sort of structure, because he's sitting with all of them at the table talking to their Jabba's captains, right? Yeah. So there's obviously some sort of leadership there, but yeah, just they make it almost seem like it's been a couple weeks since Jabba died, and he's just going to stroll in and take it. But that's just simply not going to be the case with the timeline. So I don't know. It's interesting. I guess we'll see who is I personally don't think it's going to start with him already on the throne. I think that some of these scenes in here are him rolling into that area to take the throne. So I'm sure we're going to see who's on it. I just don't know.
When they're surrounded by the
Right.
shields and taser dudes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Why does he want the throne? Like, what's the importance of him like going back there to take it?
Yeah, I think it's just a power thing. That's what I would think, and it would be a way for him to stay in the underworld in a powerful position instead of being a bounty hunter floating through the galaxy and falling into Sarlacc pits. He can kind of hunker down and rule his way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's really the only reason. I don't think there's any deeper reason behind it. We'll see, but
yeah.
He says it in a line a little bit loose too. He's like, basically through corporation, we can, make something of ourselves and have power and control. And the criminal underworld of Star Wars is actually pretty built out in Legends, and this is them just kind of like recanonizing that. Because if you go to like Empire at War, the expansion pack called Forces of Corruption, it was basically an expansion pack to that RTS, all about just the criminal underworld. And I think Boba's just so familiar with that because obviously he's lived in it for his whole life, more or less. He's just familiar with it, and he sees it as a place where he can just, stake out the rest of his life and make an impact.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's a money and power type of thing for him.
Yeah, and also like, pre-Clone Wars, Clone Wars, and even during the Empire, like there was Hutt space. Like Hutt space was a portion of the galaxy where the Empire like acknowledged that it existed, traded and dealt with them in terms of like diplomacy and things like that. In the same way, even the Republic somewhat acknowledged it. Obviously like the Outer Rim to the Republic was just kind of free game, slavery, all that kind of stuff. So I mean, the criminal, it's like a third faction in Star Wars.
Right.
Someone has to claim it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm excited to see what they bring in from Legends criminal underworld wise, because there's a lot of cool characters that never got even into Rebels or Clone Wars or anything. So we'll see. I hope I hope there are some Clone Wars bounty hunters that come into this. I think there's probably going to be, maybe at some point. And then I think that, I've talked on the show before how I'm like totally in love with Shadows of the Empire, and there's some cool characters in Shadows of the Empire that I would love to see come back. And it sucks that they've just kind of abandoned all those characters. It's a weird time to, some of them die in the book, allegedly die in the book at least. Dash Rendar, I think, is allegedly killed in the book, but I would love to see him. I know Jordan is harping really big on the swoop bike game, which is cool. I remember having that action figure and bike as a kid, so I would love to see them. That would be a cool little nostalgic piece for me because, they're cool. I just think they're cool. So it'd be cool to see some of this stuff that we haven't seen already instead of, the Tatooine that we already have seen. And they do a pretty good job with bringing in stuff on the Mando. So, yeah, we'll see, man. I'm
real hopeful. Quick before we move on to the next part, you're talking about characters, cool characters, whatever. I would love to see Cad Bane. Is that his name? The bounty hunter from Clone Wars. I'd love to see him get some more love. What a cool character.
Yeah, for sure. I think that would be probably my top pick. I would love to see IG-88 also. I don't know. I don't remember off the top of my head if he's even alive during this time or still active during this time, I should say. But we got a little bit of the IG droid in the Mando, but it just made me hungry for more, especially because IG-88, at least in Shadows of the Empire, is kind of a badass. So Cad Bane, I think, would be really cool. I think it would be so cool if Timothy Olyphant played Cad Bane. just because I just picture him as like that. I don't know if it's because of Deadwood or because of Justified. He just gives me that like gunslinger, cowboy, bounty hunter vibe.
Yeah.
But
You know,
wasn't
I'm
he
sure
in?
that's.
Yeah, he
Was he in season 2?
He was
Oh
that,
yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. He was in
the-
season 2 of the Mando.
the Marshal. Man, what was his name?
Marshal.
Cobb Vanth. That was
Yeah.
that was him.
Yeah,
so maybe
so-
we'll see some more Tim. I don't know.
Yeah,
in
so
Mando
ripping
season
that.
3.
But if they
Well-
put him in makeup, maybe nobody can tell.
Yeah, I
He'd
mean,
be the perfect pick.
what Josh Brolin's like a million different. super,
He's like 7 different Marvel
yeah,
characters.
he's Thanos. He's Cable.
Cable.
You know, whatever. Just throw some makeup on him.
Yeah, I mean, I want them also to tie. This is your favorite topic, Mike. I want them to tie. I want them to finish out and tie the Kiara and Darth Maul criminal underworld.
Yeah.
Like arc.
I think that's going to happen, to be honest with you.
Dude, Darth
they
Maul.
have to eventually.
Maul just needs to be in everything.
Well,
Yeah.
The great thing about Maul now is that his character arc has an end, luckily, right? So now it's just fill us in on what you alluded to us about him being like the head of the Crimson Dawn and
Yeah.
all that really awesome criminal underworld that was going on in the Empire era. And because then eventually, because we know he just shows up in Clone War, Rebels, is it Rebel? Yeah, as just like kind of old man in it, just kind of like seasoned and weathered.
When does he show up as like Spider Maul?
That's in Clone Wars. That's
Yeah.
when he first comes back. His brother
Yes.
goes off and gets him from the
His
junk
brother.
planet.
Man,
That dude's rowdy.
so much
Yeah.
stuff.
I think we're going to, I don't know necessarily that we're going to get Darth Maul. I think it'd be really cool to see Darth Maul, but
We don't need.
I
Darth
think we're
Maul,
certainly going to see Amelia Clark. I'd be shocked if Amelia Clark was not in this, to be honest with you.
So is this
Um,
show like running in line with Solo? Because that's kind of like
Solo is like early Empire days,
yeah.
and then this is 10 years after Empire, and Empire was a thing for like 10 years or 20 years. So she very much could be alive, recast as Amelia
Like an
Clark.
A little older.
Older, yeah.
Definitely
That's how
older.
for sure older. I picture her still. I can't remember the name. Is it like Crimson Dawn?
Crimson Dawn.
Yeah.
That would
Crimson
be, yeah.
Dawn. I see her still as the leader of that. It's just weird because as I thought of that earlier, I looked up her like what she's doing nowadays, and she has nothing on the books for 2021, 2022. So that's kind of odd for her because she had a lot of stuff going on prior to that. So I feel like there's something coming that she's going to be in that we don't know about. So
In a recent newscast, we covered a little bit where she has notes on what she thinks about her character and where that could go and like different
Right.
stuff that could happen. So she's definitely invested, much how like Henry Cavill is invested in all his many ambitions in life.
Yeah.
But she has a similar ambition to continue playing that character.
Yeah, that'd be pretty rowdy. I'd be here for it. But yeah, before we get into predictions and speculation, I had to go grab the old 10-inch Stormtrooper that nobody claimed from our last time we tried to give him away. But yeah, we thought it could be her. You're right. But yeah, thought it'd be cool to give it away here during episode 0 of Book Boba Fett. We're gonna make it a little bit easier on you. All you got to do is join our Discord and post the answer to this question
And the question is,
in the Book of Boba Fett CS channel there. And the question is,
ready for it? Tell us what the original purpose of Boba Fett was, being the armor, the design, and the inspiration.
ooh, I know the answer to this one.
So if
Nick
you can,
is totally the judge of this, so you must appease him. But yeah, if you're the first person who can answer that in our Discord, which there's a link to our Discord in our episode description, or you can go to linktr.ee/showboyspodcast, and there should be a link on there for you. Join it up and head down to the where is it? The spoiler talk section of channels, and right up there at the top is Book of Boba Fett. Drop your answer in there, and yeah, we'll let you know if you won. So you want to hit them up with the question one more time?
Sir can. So tell us what the original inspiration and purpose of the Boba Fett design, armor, and character was. All the way back in the 80s, potentially in the 70s, whenever they were doing all the concept work. And I believe it would have been in the 80s because they did this after A New Hope. There
you go. Yeah, get those answers in. I really want to give this away. So it's really cool. You guys need it. So yeah, let's go ahead.
I want to bring up one more possible appearance because it just kind of popped into my head. So we did on the newscast, we did something about Harrison Ford signing on for Star Wars and filming de-aged scenes, correct? Am I correct in saying that? I think that was part of the same
like
article.
that. Yeah, because we went on a whole tangent on how like we hate that Disney does that for older and deceased people.
Yeah, exactly. So now that I'm thinking about it, is it this? Is this where he pops up in? I think it almost has to be, right? What else is coming out that he would be in besides maybe Kenobi?
Oh crap, you're right.
What would he show up in?
He can't be in Kenobi necessarily. He could be, but he'd be a young. They would have might as well just get that actor from Solo.
Yeah.
So if they're doing like a de-aged Harrison Ford, yeah, that's in line with this because let's just assume Harrison Ford let's assume that Han Solo and Boba Fett are approximately the same age in Star Wars. So this would be, this like 40s, 50s Han Solo versus the like 70s one we see in the new trilogy.
And the new trilogy doesn't really give too much away of what he's been doing since after the Empire, correct? I mean, it's hinted that he went back to his old ways in a way, right?
Yeah, they obviously had Kylo or Ben, and then sometime after that, well, really, it would have been, if we can piece this together, Ben would have went off to train with Luke probably around like 10 years old. So we can just throw a ballpark and say 10 years after, 10, 12 years after episode 6, Han Solo would have gone back to his old ways and would have fallen back into the riffraff of the criminal underworld to some degree.
Yeah. And he'd be more lenient to return to Tatooine now that Jabba's not there. And
no bounty.
Unfortunately, no bounty. Yeah. Unfortunately, Boba Fett is the one that's there. And I think it'd be a really cool scene to see because he technically killed Boba Fett in the, he's the one that caused the Sarlacc fall. So it'd be interesting to see them come face to face again.
You know what? This is a great segue into the predictions and speculation on what we're going to get in the series here.
Now I'm so disappointed when that doesn't happen because that kind of, just off the top of my head, I think that makes sense.
It does. Off the top of my head, it does too. So
because what else could he? Yeah, you make a great point. What else could he be filming?
Now we have to be under the assumption that that's a true thing that we said also, which there's a very good possibility that it's just a rumor.
You know what? I think this is the hill we die on. Okay, and I know Jordan's watching. Okay, so he'll totally understand this. This is the Boba Fett 10 rings theory. Okay, so we're going to be on Han watch throughout all of the Book of Boba Fett. Okay, and then when it doesn't come true, we can all cry on each other's shoulders, much like I did at the end of the Falcon and Winter Soldier Companion series when my 10 rings theory totally fell flat on its face. But every episode, we're sticking true to the Han Solo appearing in the Book of Boba Fett theory here.
I gotta be honest. Like in my head right now, it's like an 8 out of 10 probability that this is that scene because there's nothing else. What else is there? There's nothing else that we know about that he will be appearing in.
Man, especially if it's just a scene. Like, what if it's like this post-credit scene, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be
Yeah, it
so
could
gnarly.
be. It could be. It just would be cool to see them face to face again, you know?
See, Jordan gets it. He
Right.
remembers. He remembers the 10 rings theory, okay? You know,
Well,
it's
I
just
think,
crazy enough to maybe be true.
yeah, and it would have. I think it would be really sweet if they, in some episode, they have to work together. But I feel like they
Yeah.
totally would be okay with it. Like, obviously, many years later, they're older, seasoned, and they kind of can let that go, maybe. But there's a lot of cool ways they could play with that. But definitely, um, just a cameo. And they've kind of
Yeah, that's it.
established that
Yeah.
they're very good at the cameos, and then letting it kind of just go away.
Right.
Because I know we've speculated a ton on a lot of different things, whether it was Mandalorian or the Bad Batch, of like, will we see that person again? Are they going to have their whole arc in this show? Nope, never see him again.
Right.
Yes. Man, that's yeah.
There it is.
You heard it here first. I don't know anyone else who's speculating that Han Solo is going to appear in the Book of Boba Fett, but I will make that statement.
Han's going to be pissed that he has to go back to Tatooine for a job. He's going to go there, find himself in the middle of a Boba Fett, like, overthrowing the criminal underworld, and he's just going to, be beside himself in the usual Han Solo fashion.
Yeah.
Love it. But yeah, do you guys have any other predictions on what might happen here and play out?
I'm notoriously bad at these because I really just let it all kind of come to me naturally, and I don't try to spoil or get my hopes up on anything. I don't know. Like, definitely, we're gonna have to see like a slew of bounty hunters, right, from all over
For
the
sure.
place. Get all the classic ones, but maybe a little bit about like kind of like the story arc here. So obviously, like, Boba's trying to peacefully, reasonably, take control of this empire, and if all that footage is from one episode, there is many episodes of conflict that we're gonna have to go through. So people are going to be coming after him. He's going to have to be fighting people. So obviously there has to be a lineup of fights leading to, I don't know, a boss battle, or, they don't really do boss battles. What I've noticed, they're mostly doing kind of like the end of Mando season 2. It's more kind of like the big cameo reveal. So I guess if we could settle on like what that big cameo reveal is besides Han Solo, that would be kind of the place to pivot this, because I think we're going to get a lot of the run-of-the-mill bounty hunter, criminal underworld appearances, which I think we can all, safely say are going to happen. But then what are they saving for the end? Like, what is this going to tie to next, to the next story, which is really kind of open-ended? Are they just going to weave back into Mando season 3? Because this is kind of like a 2.5 to the Mando-verse. Or are they going to leave it, feeding into something else?
Any particular bounty hunters or low lifes in the criminal underworld that we might see?
I do have a hard time keeping track of which ones die in Star Wars.
That's my heart.
I have a hard time keeping track of the timeline of all these different shows. I think a lot of that might have to do with how rapidly I watched all of it.
Yeah,
right.
I don't know who should be alive or born yet, or whatever.
Yeah, so I want to say like Bosk, obviously, but I don't want someone to be like, oh, he died in Clone Wars season 7. I'm like, or no, he didn't, or I guess he did. Who knows?
Yeah. I would say Bosk for sure. I think would show up.
It'd be like, no, if they're not dead, Bosk, IG-88.
Yeah. Right.
I guess. Well, crap. Well, no, Rex would be way too old. Because he was pretty old, allegedly, in episode 6, right? Because now I think they've retconned him into episode 6 as like the white bearded guy when they storm the bunker for the deflector shield on Endor.
Oh, really?
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Interesting.
I don't know if it's just like people on the internet doing this, or they're like slowly like. I feel like there was like comics somewhere or
They're
some
just, like,
sort of.
deep faking him into these movies.
I mean,
Yeah,
he's
right.
definitely in there, but they're just drawing comparison to like how he looked and was animated in Rebels
Mm.
to how this dude looks there. So Jordan, Boss died in the comics, but not in the legacy movie stories. And I think that's the thing is like, I
Yeah,
don't
no
know.
one knows.
And that's the thing is like, I feel like they would do something random like that too, and like have released a comic in the past 5 years and killed off somebody. And we're just not aware of it, and there's never going to happen.
He also says, Forlom, if he's alive.
Yeah,
Definite candidate.
That's funny because Jordan always coming in with snatching up what I was just about to say. That's who I
Nice.
was gonna say. I just want some of the droid bounty hunters, just because I think they're cool. I would love to see IG-88, of course. Like I said, I don't know where the timeline stuff here is kind of twisted, so I don't even know if he's still around. But if he is, he would be my top pick next to Cad Bane, and I don't think we're probably going to get Cad Bane, but we could maybe.
Dude,
Yeah,
I would love
in the
to
episode,
see Bane.
Yeah, well, yeah, Bane. I feel like he died, and then they did bring him back, which is always confusing.
True, also true. Yes.
Speaking of being dead and bringing him back, Boba. But then again, Boba should be dead too, so why not bring him back?
You only get one bring back in Star Wars.
Yeah,
that should be the hard rule. Only one bring back, and then you die. But obviously, there's also just like a lot of the current Mando-verse that we've already seen that could come out, because obviously there's a ton of characters from Mandalorian that could somehow make an appearance. Whether it's like the really random Ahsoka appearance, if they want to continue kind of teasing that. Any of the characters, like, big surprise if Cara Dune comes back. I don't see why she would be, but if she's like Ranger of the Republic, maybe we just get like a couple Rangers flying in and they're just be like, yep, nope, don't want to deal with that. Because at this point, Bo is in that gray space of good guy, bad guy, like above the law, under with the law.
Last time we saw those two characters, they were working together to help Mando. So that would make sense.
He has a license to kill.
Highly doubt we'll see Cara Dune, but I mean, there's all sorts of rumors always floating around about Star Wars.
Yeah,
there were rumors, probably summerish time, of maybe Gina Carano reprising her role as Cara Dune and Disney walking back on what happened, that whole transpiring of events. But who knows? Yeah, I mean, you could just say anything about Star Wars, and I'm sure there's a rumor out there somewhere.
Right. Yeah, I don't necessarily see them walking back on it, but maybe, yeah.
I guess time will tell. So would somebody like Cad Bane, age-wise, fit in the timeline here where Boba Fett's taking place?
Well, yeah, so see, it's kind of complicated, but I don't remember what race he is. We don't know how they age per se, so I don't know why it wouldn't.
True. He is those blue guys with the scuba mask on.
Yeah, I always pictured him as being older in Clone Wars, though. So I don't know. It might just be pulling out of left field, or just my need to see him in live action that I think is making that prediction more than anything.
Yeah.
So
his wiki page says a Duros male bounty hunter, considered the best and one of the most experienced bounty hunters in the galaxy during the Clone Wars due to the death of Jango Fett.
Whom was his trainer, his mentor.
Right.
Yeah, because he last have a stint there with the Bad Batch, but he was still pretty in his prime at that time. Add another 20-30 years, it'd be an old one. He'd be like, but no different than Boba. I mean, Boba at this point is pretty old as well. So,
Well, I mean, he was hired by Jabba the Hutt at one time to free Zero, right?
mm-hmm.
So we've got connections there. He was, like did you just say that he was in Bad Batch?
Yep.
Because
that was the last we saw of him,
so
even
Fennec,
in the timeline.
Fennec was there. Like, how old? What's Fennec's age in the Bad Batch versus where we are now? Like, I just get these timelines. Like,
well, yeah. I mean, she's very much like an up and coming bounty hunter in the Bad Batch, so she's like probably in her 20s, I would say, and then she's in her late 30s, 40s here.
Okay.
Boba's in his 60s, 50s, 60s. Cad Bane's older than Boba. He'd be kind of like a Harrison Ford-esque age.
Just an old white bearded Cad Bane showing up. Just like, what's up, guys?
I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
All right. Well, I think we really hit something here with the Harrison Ford Han Solo speculation. Personally, I have no idea what to really expect out of this series. But I think that was a good prediction. So we'll see what comes.
I'll take credit for that one, and I'm going to take credit for the next one also, which is my next one is, and this is probably 100% definitive. Anybody could pick this out. It's not a twist theory, but I think we're probably going to see how he got out of the Sarlacc pit, how he recovered from getting out of the Sarlacc pit in flashbacks. I think it's an obvious story to tell. You have to kind of tell it because, it doesn't seem like it's a survivable situation, and somehow he survived it. Now in the comics, I know how he survived it. I think he was in the comics jetpacking out of the Sarlacc pit. So, we'll see. I think we're definitely going to see it though. 100%. He's going to sit down on the throne and kind of daydream about busting out of the Sarlacc pit. And
this is why we don't let Jordan on the companion series. He says, my biggest prediction is that Obi-Wan will be better. Boo.
Easy one. I mean,
that makes sense. That would be really cool to see.
Maybe in Boba Fett fashion, someone's gonna like ask that to set up the flashback story, and then he's gonna be like, none of your effing business.
And hey, you know what? No, that's too much. I was gonna say it might be Han Solo making that. Hey, didn't I not kill you? I killed you, didn't I? And he's like, no, here's what happened. And we get like a quick little rundown of him.
That might be a little too corny.
It's too much. Too corny.
That would be hilarious. Just hit that
let me
right
tell
on
you.
the head. Speaking of and predictions, in Discord, we asked, what people might be excited for, any predictions that you guys might have. And Jordan replied saying, I'm going to go on record saying the Swoop Gang will show up, as well as legacy bounty hunters like Bosk, who was last seen on Tatooine, to my knowledge. So, we kind of touched on those just through natural conversation, but that's what Jordan was thinking too. And if you're watching the live stream here, go ahead and chat in what you think might happen. We'll throw it up on the screen, talk about it. But what impact do you guys think this series is going to have on the Mando-verse, and then further, like just the larger Star Wars universe? I guess we can start with the Mando-verse and then branch into the larger Star Wars universe.
Yeah, so I kind of line up with Nick on this one, where I think this is Mando 2.5, and we're not going to get a second season of this. I'd be shocked if we got a second season of this. So I think that this is definitely going to end with something big revealed for Mandalorian season 3. What that is, I have no idea. I already used all my prediction power tonight, so we'll save it for maybe mid-season. I can start predicting again.
There you go.
But I think that it's just nice to see this character that is, everybody loves this character, but he just doesn't have a lot live action cartoon wise that we can grasp onto outside of legend stuff. So it's cool to see this story fleshed out. And if it ends up not adding anything whatsoever to the universe or the Mando universe, I'd still probably be all right with it because I just love Boba Fett and I want to see more of him. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't know what they could even reveal for season 3, but yeah, I definitely think it's a 2.5 type of thing. Like, here's a little break while you're waiting for Mando 3. We're going to tell this quick story, and then that's it. I don't think we're going to get any more seasons of this. That's my prediction.
But you, Nick, you got any idea what impact this might have on the Mando-verse?
Yeah, we're not going to get another season. If anything, it'll set up another story, which he might be a part of. But I think this is their obvious, shameless opportunity to just do more with Tamir Morrison and this character in that amazing stage they have. And, you know, his scenes in Mandalorian were just off the charts. Like, they were awesome. And Tamir Morrison brings so much to that character. Because even if you watch like interviews and even like the makings of, I think the episode of Gallery about the second season Mandalorian, where they go over just like he brings in like his actual heritage, whatever kind of like South Pacific island he's from, but like the different like cultural aspects he brings to that character, and just like the what is the word I am thinking of? Completely lost it. But that is basically what they're doing. It's the gravitas of his character. That's what he kind of brings to it, and that's just their excuse to like make this 7-episode story and then just kind of leave it there. Because I think everyone wants more Boba Fett. They're giving everyone more Boba Fett. They're obviously hitting the nostalgia factor, the cool factor, getting to show off his armor and all the amazing detail it is now versus like, you know, the 80s version of it. So it's just a lot of fanfare, but obviously they're doing it very tastefully within these storylines. So a nice one-off, as I hope a lot of these stories do. So I'm cool with there being like 10 season Mandalorian and having a bunch of 0.5s along the way.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how they can execute our Mandalorian anthology.
Every 2 seasons they get a 0.5 in there.
So I'm wondering, with him kind of ruling the criminal underworld now, do you think by the end of the season will the tie-in to Mandalorian will be him hearing something about the whereabouts of Grogu, right? And then he hears something about that, and then he gets back in touch with Din, and he's like, "Hey, I know where the child is."
Yeah.
And then, bam, season 3 of Mandalorian comes up, and that could also kind of it'll put a bow on Boba Fett's like story arc to this point, to where he can just kind of be left alone. But if you have that tie in there somehow of maybe him learning the location of Grogu or something, or who has him or whatever, that could be an excuse to have him cameo and help out Din in season 3 of Mandalorian, something like that.
Yeah. It could be.
I don't know about
like
the actual chances of that happening, but just as we were talking here, that's like the first thing that popped into my head.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's 100%. This is gonna end with something for season 3 of Mandalorian, and that could be it, definitely. But does the Mando have any interest in knowing where the kid is?
Yeah, he's with.
Oh
Luke.
Wait, hold on. I forgot. My bad. I forgot he went with Luke and wasn't
right
taken. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, shoots that hole.
Sorry, I hate to crap all over your theory, but
no. That I'm glad you did.
But at the same time, I could definitely see the Mando wanting to know where he went either way. So it's not that big. It's not that big of a stretch, to be honest. And then I'm sorry, I have to go back to one more theory that just popped into my head, because during that trailer and during Mando season 2, Boba's fighting with like a weapon, a Tusken Raider weapon, correct?
Yeah,
Is that what
the
that
staff.
thing is? Okay.
Mhm.
So my prediction is going to be that he's either A, rescued from the Sarlacc pit and nursed back to health by the Tusken Raiders, or captured by the Tusken Raiders and he murders everybody to get out of there and takes their weapon and starts using it. That's my prediction. I just had to get it off my chest because it's going to happen. I know it.
I like the former. The former's nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they've already expressed how Din is able to actually be civil with the Tuskens. So
Yeah.
that definitely plays into that. But also to Mike's point though, and just generally how season 2 ended. So like Grogu does go off with Luke, the big Luke cameo, but that does
Right.
draw a question. I did forget how season 3 of Mando doesn't have a lot of drive right now. Like,
Right.
do we know what we knew at the end of season 1, the objective was and the continuing of what was going on, but like season 2 really kind of wrapped that arc up.
Yeah. That's where the whole like anthology pitch came from, because at the finale we're like, why should there be a season 3? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
all the
Right.
storylines are tied up right now. There's nothing driving a season 3. I can't believe that I forgot that's how season 2 ended.
Yeah. Well, that's
So that, I guess, what is there to tie Boba back to Din?
well, it's gonna be probably how potentially, if they want to get real crafty, this is gonna end with what Mando is gonna be doing next, maybe, right? Or at least he has like Boba Fett's gonna be a much more resourceful asset, criminal empire overlord. If that's how this pans out, maybe he loses and
Yeah. It's a
he gets
possibility.
his shit kicked in, and
Yeah.
Din has to come save him. I don't know.
I mean, do you guys think that we're done with the Luke Skywalker Grogu stuff in the Mandalorian? Because I feel like it's not.
The Book
It's
of
not.
Grogu.
He's just, yeah, I mean, he's just not gonna. He's not gonna dip out. I mean, let's be honest. That's a lot of one of the people's favorite characters is Grogu. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what was driving the entire show from, I think, the first episode, right? Is when he initially gets him. So I don't think that's going away. I don't think it's just like he rode off into the sunset with Luke and that's it. I think we're going to get more storyline in that. Maybe not with Luke Skywalker cameo, but we don't know at this point if he has an academy, right? Do we know that he has an academy?
That's the fire they're playing with that, because when they did that, I was like, great. They're now establishing the like storyline that here goes Grogu off of Luke, because Luke's, what is he doing? We know from episode 9, right? And 8, he has an academy. Kylo's there. Kylo burns it all down. Grogu, was he there? Was he not there? Does Grogu die that day? There's this whole entire Luke Skywalker Jedi Academy arc that they just kind of like preset. So it's like, what are you doing there? Like, is that going to happen? Are we not going to get it? Like,
I think it's
tough.
I think it has to be a big part of season 3, I would imagine, because like you guys just said, there's not too much driving behind it besides that. That's got to be a big portion of it. I can't see them riding off into the sunset and then Mando just goes about his life like he didn't just do all this. So
he does have to figure out, he has this whole like cult thing he's a part of inadvertently. There's Bo-Katan and all of her agenda. There's a lot they could go off of and on about. That was, and I did forget, like, that was the offer in season 2 to Mando, was Bo-Katan was like, hey, whenever you want to come party with us, hop on over. And he's like, I gotta go do this thing. You don't have to do that thing anymore. So
could be,
but
definitely.
Along with the cuteness factor, right? And money printer that Grogu was throughout the series, that was the whole growth of Din's character, right?
Grogu's in like 10 places in my house right now.
Yeah, I got to be honest, man. Not necessarily the money printer originally because there was nothing when the first season came out. Baby, he was Baby Yoda back then. That's what everybody called him. Nothing. You couldn't even find like a little toy for him. Like they didn't set it for whatever reason. They didn't see him becoming the character. I have no idea how they didn't think that everybody was going to want Baby Yoda stuff. But
low radar, flying in low.
Yeah, very low, because it was like a year, maybe even a year and a half later that stuff started really funneling out for him. So
they went to the fundamental that like the newest trilogy came in hot and high, and they're like, nope, we're coming in low and cold.
Yeah. I mean, I know that they probably wanted to keep that a secret, and I know that like even the director's kids weren't allowed to talk about, they made sure that they didn't talk about Baby Yoda and everything. And there was, I can't remember where I saw that, like a whole documentary on it, but
children, don't you dare talk about Grogu.
Yeah. So I don't want to leave off the Academy thing real quick, unless Mike, did you have something more on the?
Oh no, I was just going to say that was, Grogu played such a huge role in how, Din's character developed, and like how he kind of questioned the rigid ways of, the Mandalorian sect that he grew up in. So for him to just disappear after the end of season 2 would be very weird, just because of how important he was to Din as like a character.
Right.
But yeah, what about this Academy? Do you guys?
So yeah, do we know? So Ahsoka is taking place after season 2 of the Mando, right?
Yes, or concurrent.
Okay.
Too. Definitely after.
So if the Grogu and Skywalker stuff does not continue in Mando season 3, it probably makes more sense for it to continue in Ahsoka, right? Because what is she doing right now?
Ahsoka is basically going to be like the live action
storyline.
Rebels sequel.
Right.
So I think Ahsoka and Sabine are going to go after
Thrawn.
Thrawn and Ezra.
Because the end of because Rebels had like arguably one of the best endings ever. And they are basically teasing they're going to flesh that out, because Ezra and Thrawn go into some like nether dimension, wormhole, space whale, far, we're talking like beyond the reaches of like the known galaxy, right? From where Thrawn came from, who knows? And Ahsoka, and to me, that's what I like about Rebels, is it had this very trippy element to it where Clone Wars dabbled in, but like things got really trippy in Rebels for a kid's show. Like we're talking like time travel, other dimensions, very deep exploration of like the Force. And that's basically where Ahsoka is going. She's going on this spirit quest, and like Ezra and Thrawn are at the end of it, is what I feel like that is.
Interesting.
Plus Sabine and Ezra have been cast for that show.
Yep.
So that kind of makes sense as to where that one's going to go.
And that's a limited series? Or do we know?
We don't know.
We don't know. Okay. Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out where the Academy stuff would place better, because I feel like it would place better in that with Ezra and Ahsoka and them finding the Academy when they get back from their.
I think that'd be a cool way to like tease it a little more than just the Grogu and Luke thing.
Yeah.
Because you're right. You have Ezra, who's a young Jedi. I don't know.
But that's always going to be the trick that they've walked well so far in kind of establishing this like A tier of Force users and B tier of Force users.
Right.
And Ahsoka and Maul are kind of like the top of the B tier Force users. And to me, they're never really going to cross them into the A tier, being the Skywalkers and like Kylo Ren and all that. So I feel like they're going to steer them away from the Academy at all costs.
Unless they want to push them into the A tier and take them to the Academy to learn how to be in the A tier. Could be a possibility.
It would be insane to say at some point Luke Skywalker was aware of Ahsoka, who is a fairly powerful Force user all throughout the same time as Luke Skywalker. right? And just acknowledge that at some point they had coffee and like caught up and like, oh yeah, I
Right.
did all this and you did all that. And
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a possibility. It's not crazy, but I am excited for the Thrawn stuff. I didn't know. I mean, is that confirmed that he cast in the Ahsoka?
he's more of the like tease in the rumors,
Okay.
but like they definitely, I feel like, are planning to cast him because
Yeah.
like Mads Mikkelsen was like in the rumor mill for being cast as
Robert
him.
Downey Jr.'s name was
I heard
thrown out
Robert Downey
there.
Jr. Yeah, yeah.
I
heard
feel
that.
like
That was
not-
the most recent one.
Yeah.
not be a great choice in my opinion.
No, I'm trying to think who would be.
Doctor Strange.
Doctor
Probably just
Strange,
toss
yeah.
him in there.
Yeah.
One of the
Yeah,
Mickelsons.
Cucumber batch or whatever.
Yeah, Cucumber Batch.
I think that yeah, I'm excited for live action Thrawn, dude. I didn't know that was even a rumor, to be honest with you, because that trilogy of books, the Thrawn trilogy, is probably my favorite Legends stuff now.
Well, they redid the trilogy.
Yeah,
There's like
yeah,
3 new books.
Right, so I'm talking about the old trilogy.
Yeah,
the one
they're a
that
lot
was-
different now.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. But I was super excited to see him in Rebels. I got super excited because I thought I can't remember what season it was, but one of the seasons showed the same ship that Dash Rendar had in Shadows of the Empire. And I can't remember whose ship it ended up being, not Dash's, but I like saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, that's a 100% Dash Rendar's Outrider. It has to be. And it was the exact same ship, but I can't remember off the top of my head whose it belonged to. But yeah, that's what I liked about Rebels is that they were starting to bring in some of these older characters that a lot of people love, but have never gotten their live action or cartoon adaptations. So it'd be cool to see the live action Disney series doing that exact thing. So for them to bring live action Thrawn is awesome.
That's my hope, at least. I mean, that's what makes the most sense. But yeah, I mean, you guys have anything else to throw out there before we wrap up our pre-show?
Emilia Clarke has to show up. That's what I want to happen.
Yeah,
That's right. If you take anything away from this episode, it's Chad's bold prediction.
Yes.
Han Solo is going to show
Han
up.
Solo.
Han
Solo is the A tier prediction. We got Kiara as the B tier prediction.
there you go. And then I've got the C tier Tusken Raider prediction.
Yeah.
Which
There's
is
definitely gonna be Tusken Raiders. That's for sure.
Oh, they'll be there for sure. But I'm saying C tier. They're rescuing or capturing after Sarlacc pit.
I like it.
But that would be admitting that like Boba has like flashbacks. I feel like he just isn't the kind of guy that has flashbacks. He's like piss off.
Yeah, it could be. Not necessarily that he's going to have the flashback. I think we're going to see a flashback of some sort to kind of they can't not do the Sarlacc pit. They can't not explain it. Even if he says it in passing, like it's still cooler to see it happen in a scene versus, oh yeah, I jetpacked out and then I was in a tank recovering for a couple months.
The more you talk about, the more that's going to be Han Solo's contribution to this. They're gonna like run into each other at the cantina. He's gonna be like, "What the fuck?"
Hey,
yeah,
what are you doing here?
Exactly.
He's like, "Let me tell you something."
Wow. And then we have like he looks up into the sky and the flashback starts.
Yeah. I would love him to totally just like break character. Who's the dude in Ant-Man that tells the quick stories?
Oh yeah.
I would just break character and tell that story. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Pena.
Pena's character, just tell it that way. Oh my gosh.
Dude, those oh my gosh, those are the best scenes of those.
There's allegedly
they're so funny.
Oh, they're hilarious. But there's allegedly a video of him doing the entire recap of the MCU. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, it apparently exists. No, it's not out yet. It's not out yet. They haven't released it, but they Feige confirmed that it exists.
It's gonna be like an hour long
somewhere.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
The way he tells stories, I hate to see him do a recap.
My
cousin's sister.
Yeah. That and that those scenes and the truth serum scene in Ant-Man were just like freaking hilarious, dude. I like never laughed that hard at a Marvel movie in my life.
Yeah, those are. He's a funny dude. I love Michael Pena. He's pretty verstal. Not to go
he's
off
very
on
versatile. Yeah, he's very versatile.
Random tangent in our companion series, but
Michael Pena.
Yeah. All right.
The next Thrawn. Michael Pena.
very, very, very versatile.
There you go. That's amazing. That's our 10 rings theory.
There you go.
For Ahsoka. But yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in here to our hype show, episode 0 for the Book of Boba Fett, kicking off the companion series in a very fun way. I think I always love doing these episode 0s. Like I said, the Book of Boba Fett premieres Wednesday, the 29th, and every other Wednesday after that until it's over. The next episode of the companion series will be on, let me pull up the calendar, January 2nd, Sunday, January 2nd, right here, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at 9 p.m. Eastern, just like all of our other episodes. With the audio version of the episode releasing, the next day, maybe Tuesday at the latest. But we will be here after every episode of the Book of Boba Fett to recap, break it down, and overanalyze it. And it's going to be a ton of fun. You might have noticed our different intro here in the beginning. And if you're familiar with our companion series at all, we always try to get some really cool custom audio specific to the series. And our good friend SJT was kind enough to whip together an amazing Book of Boba Fett remix. I'm not going to say for us, but upon request, that guy, he rules. All of his links are down in the episode description, along with a link to his video of the remix. So make sure you go check him out, show him some love, follow him wherever he is, and watch all of his videos. His music is amazing. And we're going to play you out here in a second with the full remix of the theme song. So thank you, SJT, for letting us use this. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/showboyspodcast. We've got 4 different tiers. You can help support the podcast. It would mean the world to us. If you're unable to financially support us, we're just glad that you're able to tune in, watch the video. Make sure you like and subscribe everywhere you can, and join our Discord. And we have a merch store. Those links are in the episode description as well. But here we go. Enjoy the amazing remix of the Book of Boba Fett companion series. Hope to see you Thursday, and especially next Sunday as we recap episode 1. Have a wonderful night.